Hi everyone, welcome to the good morning test of KingMakers IAS Academy. So this is Nishana Jumuddin. I'm an economics faculty specialized in handling sessions for various competitive examinations like UPSC, UGC NET, bank exam, etc. So now in this good morning test, we'll be discussing a set of MCQs exclusively based on current affairs for the month of June 2019 in order to enable the UPSC aspirants to prepare the current affairs with much of ease. So now in this good morning test, we have selected 10 most important current affairs on a daily basis with the proper explanation from authenticated sources like the Hindu, PIB, etc. So now through this good morning test, it will be a quick revision of all what you have studied so that you will be able to understand what sort of questions you will be getting for your upcoming UPSC prelims examination. And also in this good morning test, apart from the MCQ part, we will also be doing a 360-degree coverage of the concerned topic or question which we are discussing. So it is a complete package which will enable you to prepare for UPSC examination with much of ease, especially the prelims perspective. So to begin with, guys, the first question is, consider the following statements about National Tiger Conservation Authority. So now option number 1 tells, it is a statutory body under the Union Ministry for Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Second one, it was constituted under the enabling provisions of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So now you have to identify the correct answer. So as I keep telling you for every lectures, whenever you get an MCQ, the first thing that you should keep in mind is what? Identify the keywords. That is very important because whenever you get a question, first identify the keyword. And now the keyword to identify in this particular question is to identify the correct statement or the incorrect statement. After that, what is the keyword in the given statements? And try to establish a proper connection link between the question. So now it will enable you to understand the answer in a better manner, and also you'll be able to do the elimination part with much of ease. That is, which is the option that you can eliminate, or which is the option that you cannot eliminate. So that those are certain tips and tricks which will enable you to find out the right answer for the UPSC examination. Because we all know that the UPSC normally they give questions in a very, very tricky manner. So now applying certain tricks and tips only, you'll be able to give the right answer for your UPSC examination. So now guys, in this particular question, it's a simple question and the answer is option number C, which means that both 1 and 2 statements are correct. And if you see, the question is about National Tiger Conservation Authority. So now keeping this keyword in mind, obviously when it is about the National Tiger Conservation, it comes under which ministry? Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, because that comes under that, right? And now the second one tells that it was constituted under certain provisions of Wildlife Protection Act. So when it is about conservation of tigers, obviously it means that they have to be protected. So now the act for protecting such tigers and other thing is your Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So more or less both the statements are connected and more or less both are looking similar also. And that is why your answer is option number C, which means that both are perfectly right. And now this Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 that was amended in the year 2006. Why? They changed it because for strengthening the conservation of tigers, which is the need of hour, as per the powers and functions which are assigned to it under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Now, what is the function of this particular National Tiger Conservation Authority, guys? Let's have a quick look at it. If you see, one is to ensure normative standards in the tiger reserve management. Another function is preparation of reserve-specific tiger conservation plan. And apart from that, they also make a point that there are certain approval for declaring new tiger reserves so that this tiger conservation has been strengthened to a greater extent. And that is why this particular National Tiger Conservation Authority was put forward. So now moving on to the next question is, consider the following statements regarding Pradhan Mantri Kisan Scheme. And now this is an economy related current affairs question. And now we all know that the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana that was introduced in the budget, that is your interim budget of 2019-20. And that is coming under the heading called as Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, right? So now option number 1 tells, it is a central sector scheme. Look at the keyword, guys. The keyword is central sector scheme, because there is a difference between central sector scheme and centrally sponsored scheme. So many of you even get confused with central sector and centrally sponsored. Centrally sponsored, okay. But there is a slight difference in that. So now, as per the statement, it is said that your Pradhan Mantri Kisan Scheme, it is a central sector scheme. Second one, it is an income support of rupees 6,000 per year in 3 equal installments, which will be provided to the small and marginal farmer families. Yeah, now the second statement more or less it appears to be right. So now from this you have to identify the correct statements. Option A equals only 1, B only 2, C both 1 and 2, and D equals neither 1 or 2. So which one do you think is the right answer? So you can have a look at your first statement which tells that it is a central sector. Do you think it is a central sector or centrally sponsored scheme? So now you'll be thinking, is it a central sector? Central sector means 100% of funding is done by the central government itself for that particular scheme. What about centrally sponsored scheme? centrally sponsored. The key word called sponsored means the contribution of central and state government comes there, which means that maybe 60% of the funding will be done by the central government. The rest 40% will be done by the state government, and the ratio can also change depending upon the concerned state. Okay. So now they say that your Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme is completely a central sector scheme where the entire funding is done by the central government. So do you think is that the case? If so, the answer for this particular question is option number A, which means that only the first one is right. Which means that your Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, it is a central sector scheme. 100% it is done by the central government only. Okay. Now, why is the second one is wrong, guys? The second one is wrong is because it is said that it is an income support of rupees 6,000 per year in 3 equal installments, which will be given to the small and marginal farmer families. And thus, I can tell you that the scheme, initially when they put forward the scheme, yes, it was only for the small and marginal farmers, but now they've extended to all the farmers, irrespective of the fact that whether they are small or marginal. That is why the second one is wrong. Actually, when it was introduced in the budget of 2019-20, guys, this Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, it was actually a direct income support to the farmers, whereby under this particular central sector scheme, what the government decide is that they will give rupees 6,000 annually to every farmers, and that too they have targeted a group of farmers who are vulnerable. And now that vulnerable farmer was further divided into 2 sectors. What are they? The small and marginal farmers who are having who are owning a cultivatable land of up to 2 hectares. So whichever small and marginal farmers who are owning a land of up to 2 hectares, yeah, then they can be the beneficiaries of your Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme. That is also another keyword. That is what initially when they introduced the scheme they said. And now which means that the farmers were landless. We all know that not every farmer is having land, right? They will not be owning a land. So what about those farmers? These farmers, they will not be covered under the scheme called as Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme. And that was a big disadvantage for your Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana also. They used to cover only the, they were saying that they'll cover only the farmers who are having cultivatable land. But now, since that was the biggest disadvantage, what did they do later? As per the recent amendments, they said that though it is an income scheme of 6,000 per year also in 3 equal installments, it will be provided to all the farmers. It is not only now small and marginal farmers, but rather they are covering all the farmers. That is a revised provision. Take care. So thus this 6,000 per year, guys, what the government does is that in 3 equal installments they'll give. And now before the elections they said that by 30th March 2019, the first installment of rupees 2,000 will be sent to the beneficiary's account. And yes, as per the whatever the government said, it was done also, keeping in mind the elections. And yes, the first installment was released. Now we have to wait and see what were the other installments, whether it has been done properly or not. Anyways, so if you see, as per the latest amendment from 1/4/2019, that is from April 2019, if you see, this particular Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme, because of certain discussions and other expert meetings, this has been extended to cover all the farmers, not only small and marginal farmers like how they said initially, but all the farmers. And now, initially they wanted the beneficiaries was around 12 crore, but now they said that they want to extend it to another 2 crore also, guys, which means that totally the beneficiaries they are targeting to cover under this Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme is 14.5 crore. So this is about your Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana. And now if you see again, another important point regarding Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana is that initially only, guys, they were focusing on small and marginal farmers, and just because of the keyword, it will be provided to small and marginal farmers only. The second statement is wrong. Actually, it is all the farmers. I hope this is perfectly clear to you guys. And this Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, guys, another important point is that this is a central sector scheme, which means that 100% funding is from the central government or government of India. But do you think 6,000 rupees annually is enough to support the farmers? Do you really think? Definitely this is a very, very low amount, right? Now if you see, just like your Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, which is a central sector scheme, the state governments, guys, some of the very selected state governments, they have also come up with a similar scheme to give a kind of support to the farmers. And some of the notable state government scheme is, one is your Ritu Bandhu scheme. You can just note it down. The Ritu Bandhu scheme of Telangana government. That is a wonderful initiative. Why? Because under this particular scheme, again, they are providing some sort of direct income support to the farmers, the vulnerable farmers who are having land as well as who are landless. And now the annual income support that they give, the Telangana government give under the scheme called as Ritu Bandhu, that they give to the farmers is 8,000 rupees per annum. So now you can see now the amount is higher than your central sector scheme, at least by rupees 2,000, which means that it is far better. And not only that, they even include the landless farmers. Similarly, guys, there is another scheme called as Kalia scheme. And now this is a wonderful scheme and a very notable scheme. Okay, Kalia scheme of Odisha government. Now this state scheme, guys, again, this is to give a kind of benefit, or it's a protection to the farmers, in a way helping them out. Now, just like your Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, in order to support the farmers, the Odisha government came with a state scheme called as Kalia scheme. And now under this scheme, it is the amount that they give to the farmers is 25,000 per annum. So now you can just have a look at the state government schemes amount and the central government schemes amount, which is far better, right? And now another important benefit of your Kalia scheme of Odisha government is that they not only include the land farmers who are having cultivatable land, they also take into consideration the farmers who are not having land, means the landless farmers, whereby the landless farmers, they make a point that they are getting 10,000 rupees, whereas the people who are having land, the cultivatable land, they will get the full amount, the 25,000, which means that this is a far better scheme than the central sector scheme. And also another important point that you need to keep in mind with reference to Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana is, there was a huge kind of talks and conflicts and controversies regarding this particular scheme, because initially when they was introduced in the year 2018, actually on December 2018 only Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana was introduced, but that was officially launched in the interim budget of 2019-20. So these are also another important small key points that you should keep in mind, because you may think that it was introduced in 2019, but that's not the case. It was introduced in December 2018, but launched officially in the budget or interim budget of 2019-20 by the Modi government. And now when they introduced, really they said that okay, 6,000 will be given to the farmers annually in 3 different installments. And now they focused only on marginal and small farmers. But what about after the Modi government, after the elections, what happened was like they wanted to revise the scheme, and they want to make sure that they are modifying it. So that is why they said that this particular scheme initially, which focused on covering or targeting only 12.5 crore farmers, they extended to 2 more crore, and now the target is 14.5 crore. And keeping in mind the updated version, again this particular scheme from the marginal and small farmers, it has been extended to cover all the farmers, guys. Okay, that is also another improvement of this particular scheme, because it was facing a lot of controversies and a lot of complaints from the people as to it is this particular central sector scheme is not is not performing that better compared to your state government schemes like your Telangana government's Ridu Bandhu scheme and the Odisha government's Kalia scheme. That is why this revision has taken place. And also they want to include more and more farmers also under this particular scheme. Now for the prelims perspective, this is perfectly fine for you to understand. But for the mains examination perspective, UPSC mains 2019 or 20, I can tell you that normally they'll ask you to do a comparison of your Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana along with a scheme called as Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Normally they'll ask you to do a comparison regarding these two schemes, because your Manrega or Mahatma Gandhi program, that is a universal income scheme, right? Though that was there also, why did the government come with this Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme, which is a targeted scheme? Because they are targeting only the farmers. Whereas in case of Mahatma Gandhi program, it's not a targeted program, it's a universal program covering the entire people in rural area. At the end of the day, the entire agricultural sector is improving, right? So keeping that in mind, they can ask you a comparison or to critically analyze and evaluate these two schemes. So for the mains perspective, kindly study your Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme along with comparing it with your Mahatma Gandhi scheme. So now, moving on to the next question is, in India, the power to review all wildlife-related matters and approve projects in and around national parks and sanctuaries comes under which of the following organization? It's a very simple question, right? Option number A is Wildlife Conservation Trust, B, Wildlife Institute of India, C, Wildlife Survey of India, and D, National Board for Wildlife. And the answer is option number D, which means that it comes under the National Board for Wildlife. And now what is that, guys? If you see, it is nothing but a statutory organization which has been constituted under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. And now, I can tell you that this National Board for Wildlife, basically the primary function of this particular board is to promote the conservation, protection and development of what? The wildlife and also the forest, because that's very important, right? And now this particular board, it also has certain powers, which means that they can review all the wildlife related matters and approve certain projects in and around the national parks and sanctuaries. So that power is exclusively vested in the hands of National Board for Wildlife. And now at the same time, another important point to be noted with reference to National Board for Wildlife is that no alternation of boundaries in national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. They can be done without the approval of this particular board called as National Board for Wildlife. Okay, that is another important thing which you need to keep in mind. Now, what about the composition of your NBWL, guys? If you see, it is chaired by the Prime Minister. And now, though it is chaired by the Prime Minister also, it has 47 members. And that 47 members is inclusive of the Prime Minister. Among these 47 members, apart from Prime Minister, I can tell you, 19 members of this particular board, they are ex officio members. Whereas the other members, they include 3 members from the Parliament, 2 from your Lok Sabha and 1 from your Rajya Sabha. Apart from that, they also take into consideration the members from non-governmental organizations. So now, out of that, how many members are taken from NGO, guys? It is 5 members. And also they take into consideration 10 eminent ecologists, because ecologists, the researchers, the advice given by them is very important because they are the expertise in that field, right? So they don't miss out to take 10 eminent ecologists, conservationists and also environmentalists in this particular board, so that they'll be able to function in a most efficient manner. So now, moving on to the next question is, consider the following statements. Option 1 tells, Indian elephant is an endangered species in the IUCN Red List data. So now the key word in this particular question is endangered. Do you think Indian elephants are endangered or critically endangered, or are they vulnerable? So these things will go in your mind, because for UPSC basically they ask you questions as per your IUCN. They will ask you questions like this particular species. Are they vulnerable, or are they endangered, or are they critically endangered? So now the question is, your Indian elephants, are they endangered? That is a key word. Okay. Keep that in mind. Second one, the Indian elephant, that is a Schedule 1 animal. Again, the keyword is Schedule 1 animal under your Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So is it 1972 or 2006? Because in some previous question, 2 questions back, I explained to you, right? The Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 was amended in the year 2006. So keeping that in mind, again you have to figure out which is the right statement. So now option A tells only one is right, B 2, C both 1 and 2, and D tells either 1 or 2. And the answer is, keeping your keywords in mind. So sometimes you may get even confused, because that's how UPSC gives the question, right? But in spite of that, you should be able to identify the right answer. That is a place where your success lies. And the answer with this particular question is option number C, which means that both the statements are perfectly right. And yes, your Indian elephants, they are endangered species as per your IUCN Red List data, and they come under the Schedule 1 animal under your Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. And thus, I can tell you the Indian elephants, guys, why they are coming under the endangered species. Because if you see, they may spend up to 19 hours a day feeding, and they can even produce about 220 pounds of dung per day while wandering over an area that can cover up to 125 square miles. Okay, these are some of the important points apart from this. Now, the next question is, the term Project 15B, sometimes in news, is related to what? Option number 8 is Solar Power Ferry, B Stealth Guided Missile Destroyers, C Stealth Submarine, and D Shivalik Class Frigate. So now out of these options, most of you will be knowing, it can either be option number B or C. Why? Because of the keyword called as stealth. S-T-E-A-L-T-H. Okay. So now because of this keyword, you may think, is it a stealth submarine or is it a guided missile destroyers? And the answer is option number B, which means that it is a stealth guided missile destroyers. Actually, this Project B, it is nothing 15B, it's nothing but a class of certain guided missile destroyers, okay? Especially designed for your Indian Navy. For our Indian Navy, this particular project has been designed. And it is also an improved variant of your Kolkata class destroyers. And this has been built by your Mazagon Dock Limited Company, guys, exclusively for what? For your Indian Navy. Now, if you see Visakhapatnam, which is known as the largest warship of its classes, that was unveiled for construction in your Mazagon Docks Limited, guys, way back in April 2015. And now, I can even tell you that it is first of the 4 steel-guided missile destroyers to be built under Project 15B class for whom, guys, of the Indian Navy. Okay. Some of the important features of this particular Project 15B is that each ship which comes under the Project 15B, I can tell you this spans around 163 meters in length and also 17.4 meters at beam. And as a result of which, they are doing a displacement of around 7,300 tons. And apart from that, this is not that important to point, guys, but still it's good to understand. But out of the features, the most important point that you need to keep in mind is point number 2 and 3, because that talks about the importance or the use of this particular Project 15B. You see these ships which can operate 2 multi-role helicopters each. They are propelled by 4 gas turbines, so that they'll be able to achieve a speed in excess of 30 knots. And also these guided missile destroyers, they incorporate new design concepts. Why? They do that because they want to improve the survivability, sea keeping, stealth, and maneuverability. That is the sole reason why they incorporate new design concepts. So these are the important feature points that you need to keep in mind with reference to your Project 15B. Because apart from these questions, they can even give you a question as to consider the following statements. So now this is a direct question what they've asked you. So now if I have a question to you based on consider the following statement, mostly points from 3 and 4 will be taken. So you should know that to answer it rightly. Okay. So now the next question is, in India, if a species of tortoise is declared protected under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, what does it imply? So now the key word is the implication of this. So option number 1 tells it enjoys the same level of protection as a tiger. So do you think, guys, a special species of tortoise, if they come under this Protection Act, will they enjoy the same level? Think. It could be. It could be, okay. Second one, it no longer exists in the wild and only a few individuals are under captive protection. And now it is impossible to prevent its extinction. So now what is the keyword? The keyword is it is impossible to prevent extinction once they come under this Protection Act of 1972. Think and see. And now, third one, it is endemic to a particular region of India. And details both B and C are correct, whereas A is wrong. So now, what do you think, guys? Which one will it imply the most perfect option? So you may feel that one is right, B is also right, you may feel. But now, out of this, you have to select the most priority option because you don't have an option called as select from the below code like A and B or C and D, etc. So now, which is the option that is having the highest priority, or which makes you feel that okay, this because of this sole reason only, it is like this. And if you see like that, the answer for this particular question is option number A, which means that it enjoys the same level of protection as a tiger. That is the implication. And thus, you can tell you this particular animal called as tiger. They're also included in your Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. And if you see this tortoise, if in India, the species of tortoise, when they are declared under the Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act, they are given the same level of protection because no matter whichever species, if they come under the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, they are given the equal treatment. Okay. And thus I can tell you Schedule 1 and Part 2 of Schedule 2, guys, they provide absolute or complete protection, I can tell you. So, which means that whatever offences which comes under these, they are prescribed with the highest penalty. To put in short and simple terms, I can tell you utmost protection is given to any species that come under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. That is the whole point. Now, moving on to the next question is, consider the following statements regarding African Union. Option number 1 says, it is a Pan-African Continental Union consisting of 55 countries. So the key word here is 55 countries. Do you think it is 55? It could even be 50. It could even be 54 also. Anyways. Option number 2 tells it is headquartered in Addis Ababa. Which of the following statements are correct? Option number A tells only 1, B 2, C both 1 and 2, and D tells neither 1 or 2. Now this is a very simple question, and the answer for this question is option number C, which means that both these statements are perfectly right. And yes, this African Union, it is a Pan-African Continental Union consisting of how many countries? 55 countries. So that is right. And yes, it has the headquarters in Ababa. Okay. And now, this particular African Union, guys, apart being a Pan-African Continental Union, it is loosely modeled, I can tell you, that based on the EU, that is European Union. And it has the headquarters where in Ethiopia, in a place called as Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Now, let's talk a little about this, African Union. It was founded way back in the year 2001, guys, in Ethiopia. And now, though it was founded in the year 2001 also, when was it officially launched? It was officially, launched in the year 2000. So as I told you, though it was founded in the year 2001 also, it was officially launched in the year 2002, guys, so in July 2002, and that was South Africa. And thus, this particular African Union, actually, it has replaced an organization called as African Unity. So it is OAU, Organization of African Unity, guys, that was been replaced, okay. And currently, we have a new union called as African Union. And now, what is the objective of this particular Pan-African Continental Union called as African Union? There's nothing but they want to achieve a greater unity and solidarity between between the African countries and Africans. So that is one of the most important objective of your union called as African Union, which has replaced your Organization of African Unity. And now, another important or second objective of African Union is that they want to defend the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and also the independence of its member states. Apart from that, they also want to increase or accelerate all the political and social economic integration of the continent. So, keeping all these things in mind only, they replace the Organization of African Unity to a new union called as African Union, and then it consisted of around 55 countries. So, I hope about African Union, everything is clear to you. And now, moving on to the next question is, with respect to anthrax, consider the following statements. So, now this is a very common thing, so most of you will be knowing the right answers. Option 1 tells, it is an infectious disease caused by bacterium Bacillus anthracis. 2. It spreads directly from one infected animal or person to another. Quickly giving the right answers, guys. And option number 8 is only one is right, B 2, C both 1 and 2, and D will say the 1 or 2. And the answer is option number A, which means that only option number 1 is right, whereas second one is wrong. Why? Because of this keyword, guys. See, option number 1 tells it is an infectious disease. Perfectly fine. Caused by bacterium, bacillus, anthracis. And as per the question with respect to anthrax, yeah, first one is right. Why is the second one wrong? The second one is wrong because of the keyword, it spreads directly. Actually, it does not spread. Just because of the keyword, it spreads directly only, the second one is wrong. In reality, it does not spread directly from one infected animal or person to another. So now it is directly is a keyword, and it does not or not. Okay. So thus, if you see, this anthrax is nothing but infectious disease caused by this bacterium bacillus anthracis. And now this bacteria, I can tell you, they live in the soil and usually they infect wild and domestic animals like your cattle, goat, sheep, etc. And now this particular anthrax will not spread directly from one infected animal or person to another, as it spreads by what, guys? By your spores. Usually it gets spread by spores, okay? And now these spores, they can be transported or spread how, guys? By the clothing or shoes. That is how they get spreaded. It is not direct, okay? Now, the next question is, consider the following statements regarding washi. Option 1 tells it's a craftsmanship of traditional Chinese handmade paper. So now, the key word for washi is Chinese handmade. Do you think it is Chinese? It could be Korean, it could be Japanese, it could be any other country also, right? Anyways, second one, it is made from fibers of the kozo or mulberry plant. So now, you can have a proper connection between these two statements. So you have a statement called as made from fibers of mulberry plant. So now, do you think in China mulberry plant is very famous, or it's in some other country? You can even think like that. And you can connect the statements. So do you think option number 8 is only one is right, or only 2, or both are right? And D will think the 1 or 2. So now again I'm stressing on the keyword. It is said that it is a craftsmanship of traditional Chinese handmade paper. And the answer is option number B, which means that only the second one is right, whereas the first one is wrong. Why? Because your washi is not a craftsmanship of traditional Chinese handmade paper. Rather, it is a craftsmanship of what, guys? Of traditional Japanese handmade paper. So now what is the keyword in the question? The keyword in the question is Chinese. Because of that, only the first one is wrong. Actually, it is Japanese. Okay. If you see the washi, which is a craftsmanship of the traditional Japanese handmade paper, they have been struggling to attract a lot of consumers. And if you see the market value for this particular washi, it has dropped by more than 50% in the last 20 years. And that's really bad, right? And now, what is the specialty of this particular, washi, guys? I can tell you this particular paper. It is made from the fibers of the kozo or mulberry plant. And now, the fibers of the plant, they are much longer than materials which are used for the papers in the West, such as wood and cotton. Okay. And now, if you see this washi, they have also been included in your United Nations Educational Scientific Cultural Organization representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, because it comes under the traditional craftsmanship of Japanese thing, right? That is why they are listed in this particular UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage of humanity. And now, what is this UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage, guys? It is nothing but it's a list of the most important cultural heritages worldwide. Worldwide, whatever sites or heritages are there, which is having a lot of attachment and importance to culture, they will be listed in UNESCO's cultural list. And thus, the aim is to provide a better protection of these intangible cultural heritage, and also to increase or raise the awareness about their significance. So we are able to maintain the cultures of that particular country with reference to certain arts or cultures. At the same time, also able to protect them. So this is all about your washi, which is a craftsmanship of your traditional Japanese handmade paper. The next question, the last question for today's discussion is, consider the following rivers. Option 1 tells Manjara, 2 Penganga, 3 tells Wainganga, and 4 tells Pranahita. Which of the above is or are the tributaries of Godavari? So this is a very, very simple question, and we all know. The answer is option number D, which means that all the above rivers, okay, they are the tributaries of Godavari. If you see Kaleshwaram lift irrigation projects, they are built on the river Godavari at Kannepalli village, which comes under your Mahadevpur Manthal, Jayashankar Bhupalapalli district of Telangana. That is the importance of this particular Kaleshwaram lift irrigation projects built on the river Godavari. And you could have seen this in news also recently. And now this Godavari, if you talk about Godavari, we all know that it is the largest river system of the Peninsula India, right? And also it is revered as what? Yeah, Dakshina Ganga. So now in this particular river only, a project called as Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project is being built on. So now we all know that irrigation is very, very important, right, for your agriculture perspective, because the growth and productivity of agriculture depends upon irrigation to a greater extent. So now projects for irrigation and all is very, very important. So they have taken the river Godavari and now this project is being built on that. And now I can tell you this Godavari river, its importance even increased because of such kind of project, and it rises from your Trimbakeshwar in Nashik district of Maharashtra, about 80 kilometer guys from the Arabian Sea, and that to at elevation of more than 1,006-7 meter. And if you talk about this Godavari river, there are left bank tributaries, there are right bank tributaries, and you can just go through the left and right bank tributaries in your answer. And mostly whatever you saw in your question, Manjara, Penganga, Vainganga and Pranahida, they come where guys? They come in your left bank tributaries. Take care. So I hope you've clearly understood regarding your 10th question also. With this, we have done with the set of MCQs for July 22nd, 2019. So thank you so much, dear students, and please do rate, review, recommend, enroll, and follow me for more such courses at KingMakers online platform. So stay tuned. I'll be coming up with more recorded versions on a daily basis of current affairs. So whatever doubts you have with reference to the current affairs videos that we discussed, you can ask me the questions via the comment box. So please also do not forget to put valuable feedbacks via the comment box, and also do like and share and subscribe the video. And whatever doubts you have with respect to whatever we discussed, you are free to put your doubts or suggestions in the comment box, and I'll revert back to you as and when I see it. Thank you.